theory. Samuel Woodham's here in the studio. Conspiracy theories can do the rounds anyway in certain parts of the world, and I'd imagine a shutdown wouldn't do much to stop them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just so short-sighted. If you wanted to restrict access to the internet then, what's to say you shouldn't have done it 3 months before when people were organising in the first place? It's just not a feasible or at any point a proportionate response.
Is this on the rise then? You do all these reports every year charting internet shutdowns, whether in economic terms or just the sheer number of them or the duration of them. Are we seeing more or less?
I think Alp kind of pointed to this earlier. It's relatively stable. There are certain years where we see a kind of an influx at a higher rate, but generally speaking, it's been a similar number of countries over the last kind of 4 years, around 22, 23 countries, and that dates back to 2019. What we are definitely seeing is these kind of slightly more sophisticated types of censorship, the harder stuff to really monitor, and the ones that the government can really try and get away with a bit more.
All right, and that's where I really want to go in these last couple of minutes of the programme, is to look at the future. So Samuel's saying more sophisticated kinds of censorship. Gabriella, a final and brief few words from you about where you see this going, the future of internet shutdowns. If it's going to worsen, are they getting more complex? What do we need to be looking out for?
Well, I'm afraid I'm not going to say anything positive here, because I believe that it's evident the past 4 years showed that we started from the Arab Spring. I think it is the first time then full internet shutdown was recorded for the very first time, and since then I believe that internet restrictions are being used to stifle the democracy, and these past cases in Iran and Russia are very not good examples, but very true examples of that case. So I'm very afraid that it's not going to be solved very fast.
So a worsening picture, says Gabriella. Final few words from you, Alp Toker. At least there are people like you monitoring them. We can say that, can't we?
Monitoring helps. It's important in terms of knowing what's going on. And you need to be able to track these incidents if you're going to fix the problem. But it's also quite useful in terms of understanding how authorities are doing it, so that you can start to find ways to perhaps circumvent those incidents. But yeah, as long as there's internet shutdowns, we're going to keep tracking.
Of course, and that's what you're going to continue to do as well, Samuel Woodham. So you see more sophisticated forms of censorship, more sophisticated forms of evading censorship, possibly on the other side?
Yeah, definitely. And I think as people become more aware of it, more kind of sophisticated circumvention techniques start happening. So a couple of years ago, BBC launched their own Tor accessible version. The more people that start taking decisions like that, the better, really. Okay,
well, we'll leave it there from you, Samuel Woodhams. Thank you very much indeed. We've also heard there from Gabriella Rachitata and Alp Toker. And Bill Thompson here in the studio. Final few words from you as you purvey the future, as you look onto the horizon on this subject.
Shutdowns and control are not going to go away because the internet's too important, and managing it is just too important to government. It's like deploying a police force or the army and stuff like that. They're going to use it. We do need transparency and visibility of what's being done. We do need to help people understand how to counter it where they can. But I'm afraid the BBC is going to be reporting on this for many years.
All right, Bill, thank you very much. All right, our studio manager is Michael Millam. The producer is Alan Beach. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
This is the BBC World Service, with the story behind Louis Armstrong's 1965 concerts in communist East Germany.
Join me, Kevin Legendre, to discover the dangers jazz lovers faced to pave the way for these legendary concerts to happen.
If you wanted jazz, you knew you have to speak with a special person.
You were willing to take that risk?
Yes.
Cold War in full swing. Saturday at 12 GMT. Hard Talk is in 60 minutes. Here's Stephen Sacker.
My guest is Mick Lynch, leader of Britain's biggest rail union, the RMT. His members are striking for inflation-proofed pay and job protection. It's a test case in a new era of worker v employer fights. Can the workers win?
This is the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
Welcome to NewsHour from the BBC World Service. I'm Razia Iqbal. Scotland's First Minister and fervent advocate for the country's independence, Nicola Sturgeon, is resigning.
There is now majority support for independence in Scotland. But that support needs to be solidified. And my judgment now is that a new leader will be better able to do this.
We'll find out what this means for Scotland and the UK. We have a special report on human rights violations in the civil war in Ethiopia. Also, he has no cutting, designing or traditional fashion background, but the Grammy award-winning musician Pharrell Williams will head menswear design at the high fashion house Louis Vuitton. It's a trend.
You've seen a lot of the big European luxury fashion houses looking to the likes of Rihanna or Kanye West to bring their army of followers to that brand.
All that, lots more, after a bulletin of the latest world news.
Hello, this is Julie Candler with the BBC News. The head of NATO says member countries are increasing production of ammunition to supply Ukraine in its fight against Russia's invasion. Speaking at a meeting of Ukraine's allies in Brussels, Jens Stoltenberg said production of weapons had been ramped up, but it needed to be quicker.
There is a big need out there to provide Ukraine with ammunition. This is now becoming a grinding war of attrition, and